Welcome back to Bloomberg West. I'm John Erlichman. We are live at the Variety Venture Capital Summit in Los Angeles. And joining me again is Shari Redstone, the vice chair of CBS and Viacom. She's also in line to succeed her father, Sumner Redstone, as chair of those companies. And Shari, I know you get questions about the succession issue all the time, but how would you describe the relationship between you and your father right now?
Oh, I think it's terrific. He was here today, my son was here today, and everything is great.
And what do you think about that role or taking on that role eventually?
I don't really want to talk about succession, but I love my role at Viacom and CBS. I think they're great companies. I think they have a great future, and there's a lot that we're all going to do together.
Would your role, I mean, if you were chair rather than vice chair, would the role be very different?
I think my role is an owner of the companies, and it's being on the board and vice chair or chair is really to promote the companies, to support the management there in the best way that I can. We have super management in both companies. They know what they're doing. We have incredible teams. They certainly don't need me to tell them how to run their business.
There are some questions longer term about what happens with Viacom or CBS. Some shareholders have said, will Viacom ever be sold? What would you say to that?
I say we've owned our businesses for a very, very long time. It takes a lot to get us to sell anything. We love these businesses, and we plan to be in them for a long time into the future.
So you have no intention of ever selling Viacom?
Ever.
Okay. What about CBS?
Same thing. What a fabulous company.
Down the road, people are wondering if we are going to be seeing more media deals. I mean, Viacom, CBS, Disney, whoever. A lot of these big media companies are sitting on a lot of cash. Are we going to see a big media deal soon?
Well, I can't speak for every other company. I know that we're really focused on returning value to our shareholders. We don't see any deals out there that make sense. We think we have great, strong businesses that support themselves, and we're not looking to do any big deals going forward.
What about overseas? You just talked about the theater business, and you're actively growing in those different markets. What about for Viacom growing overseas? Do you want to do deals overseas?
I think both of our companies have a very, very strong international presence. Viacom is very focused on MTV internationally. CBS has just done a major deal in India. I think both of our companies, at the end of the day, it's all about content. We have very, very strong content. We're exporting it in the international markets. So we're already very, very strong international players, and it will only get bigger and better.
Here's a follow-up question on the theater business. Can you buy existing theater chains, or do you have to build them? Because I know your whole thing is you want to give international markets the same kind of feeling that you get if you go to a movie here in the U.S.
Well, interesting. We have a very strong presence in Brazil. We've been growing aggressively, but we started by buying another circuit over there, and we've, increased its size significantly since then. So I think there are opportunities to acquire in the international markets, but for me, I just want to make sure that whatever theaters we own are the ones that provide a great movie-going experience.
There are some game-changing companies out there, companies like Netflix. For example, could you see Viacom trying to do a deal to buy a Netflix?
I think right now the relationships that both Viacom and CBS have with Netflix, where we put our content on there, where we receive revenue, is exactly where we want to be. We're in the content business, and we do a great job of it. We're not looking to get into any other businesses.
But you yourself are right now looking to invest money in smaller companies in media and technology. So where are you looking right now?
Right now, I founded a company recently called Excerpt Capital, which I founded with my son-in-law, and we're investing in early-stage companies in media and entertainment. We're looking at companies that have a very social basis, very social, very local, gamified, companies that really engage the consumer and provide value to them and value to us.
Any that you can tell us about that you like?
I can't really say anything specific, but we're looking at companies that involve like dual screen usage. So, for example, you might be sitting in a movie theater watching on-screen advertising, have your mobile phone there and be able to interact with the brand on the screen, download content, download offers. We're looking at companies that take advantage of children's adoption of the tablet, that maybe have to do with, reading or other kinds of content available for children. So we look at everything.
I'm sure a lot of people would like to know, how does Shari Redstone like to watch a movie? I mean, do you like to go to the theater still, or do you like to watch on your iPad?
I like to watch a movie in one of my own movie theaters in the concept we have called Lux Level, where I go in, I sit in the lounge before the movie, have a drink, sit in the movie, order my drinks, order my food, watch the movie, and have a drink after.
The popcorn experience isn't as good when you're watching a movie on an iPad. I want to come back to the management teams at CBS and Viacom. You mentioned earlier you're a big fan of them. Recently, we've seen some big paychecks paid to the bosses of CBS and Viacom and all the media companies. Now, the stock performance of a lot of media companies, including yours, has been very impressive. But is there a certain point when pay is a little too excessive?
All I can tell you is we have great comm committees, we have a great board, we have great executives. I think the judgment that they have is well placed.
What is the biggest concern you have about keeping that video window, that movies moving from the movie theater to to video on demand? You talked earlier about perhaps extending that to 4 months. I mean, we are clearly moving in the other direction. There are some who want to make that experience happen a lot faster. So when are we going to get clarity on who's going to win the day on that?
Well, I don't think there's ever clarity. I think there's always a tension between exhibition and between studios. But as I said before, I think it's really unclear that the overall revenue for any given movie is increased by shortening the windows and putting it into these alternative distribution platforms. There's always time to get there. But I think if we don't protect that window and protect the value that's being created by having a movie on the screen where it's meant to be seen, by maximizing the box office revenue, ultimately all the subsequent revenue streams will be diminished.
And just coming back to 3D movies, do you think too many movies are being made in 3D right now?
I think if it's not a great movie, it's too many movies. So I think if people could have the quality for that number of 3D movies, it's terrific. It's not about how many films are being made. It's about whether the right ones are being made and whether the quality is there to support 3D.
So the new animation unit at Paramount isn't going to be solely focused on 3D movies then?
I think depending on the movie, depending on the product, and depending upon whether they think it's a movie that makes sense for 3D, they'll decide whether it should be a 2D or a 3D movie.
All right, well, we're going to talk later about Angry Birds possibly becoming a movie. And by the way, you're a big Angry Birds fan.
I'm a big Angry Birds fan. It gets me through more flights across this country back and forth than I could imagine.
There you go. Insight on Shari Redstone and Angry Birds. Shari, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
The Vice Chair of CBS and Viacom.